Hello, and welcome to this Eureka City Council meeting happening today, October 21st. And I just want to say happy 6th anniversary to the city and the tribe. Today is the 6th anniversary of the return of Tallawat Island. What a blessing that is to our community. And I'm so grateful to report that we are still working government to government with the tribe. And what a gift that is, working on several projects. But with that, I will read the land acknowledgement. The land that Eureka rests on is known in the Wiyot language as Jirojiji. Past actions by local, state, and federal governments remove the Wiyot and other indigenous peoples from the land and threaten to destroy their cultural practices. The city of Eureka acknowledged the Wiyot community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement demonstrates the city's commitment to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. And if we could have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Castellano?
Here.
Councilmember Moulton?
Here.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Here.
Councilmember Bauer?
Here.
Councilmember Contreras-Deloche?
Here.
And Mayor Burgell?
Here. And would all who care to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? And City Attorney Black, is there a report out of closed session?
City Attorney Black is not on Zoom at the moment.
Shall I come back to that? Yes. Yes? Okay, so this moves us to mayor's announcements. And we have a very important proclamation tonight for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And Councilmember, would you like to come forward? And Councilmember Moulton will be reading that proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for being here. A proclamation in recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, October 2025. Whereas October is annually recognized as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and progress continues to be made toward violence prevention, and whereas domestic and intimate partner violence remains a serious issue affecting all people, regardless of age, race, ethnicity, sex, gender, socioeconomic status, literacy, sexuality, ability, religion, culture, and immigration status. And whereas domestic and intimate partner violence survivors are deprived of dignity, security, and autonomy with the systematic use of control and power through physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic abuse. And whereas children exposed to domestic violence can experience long-term consequences, including difficulty at school, substance abuse, behavioral problems in adolescence, and serious adult health problems. And whereas Humboldt Domestic Violence Services has been serving Humboldt County since 1977 to continuously support all those living with or escaping abuse. And whereas all survivors deserve access to culturally responsive prevention programs and services to increase their safety and self-sufficiency. HDVS enlists a diverse array of allies, agencies, and community members in supporting survivors of domestic and intimate partner violence. And whereas only together can we change the health and safety of our community by challenging the societal norms that perpetuate violence. Now, therefore, I, Katie Moulton, on behalf of Mayor Kim Burgell and the Eureka City Council, recognize the month of October 25 to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The Council celebrates HDVS's 48 years of effort to improve community safety by breaking the cycle of domestic and intimate partner violence.
Is your microphone on?
Okay. I just wanted to say thank you for acknowledging Domestic Violence Awareness Month on behalf of HCBS staff, our board of directors, and of course the survivors that we continue to serve. We just want everyone to know that we're here, and if anyone ever needs help, that they could call our 24/7 support line number. It's 707-443-6042. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for all the great work you do in our community. And we have City Attorney Black in the house. Is there a report out of closed session? City Attorney Black?
Mayor, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. There were no reportable actions taken in closed session.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I did want to mention that G6 has been pulled and will not be discussed this evening. And G9 will also be pulled this night. So that moves us to public comment. This is the time for members of the public who wish to be heard on matters that do not appear on the agenda. City Council policy is to limit each speaker to 3 minutes. Such time allotment or portion thereof shall not be transferred to other speakers. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not take action on an item that does not appear on the agenda. So come on up, Pat. Welcome. Is the mic on?
There, okay.
There you
Thank
are.
you, Leslie, and thank you all for taking it off the agenda. For the APD to research the surveillance drones. I wanted to speak about it anyway, and the reason why I did is because I'm sort of disappointed in you guys. I mean, you just brought it. You didn't really tell us what's going on. You snuck it in there, and that isn't very right. We already are very untrusting of the government. So I'd really appreciate it if you're going to do something at all military, and this is military, that you have a town hall and let us know about it. I just wanted to give you my thoughts on it. If you think of them as for emergencies, for earthquakes, tsunamis, I know the search and rescue dogs work very, very, very well, and search and rescue dogs are not, they're not aggressive and they don't bite like some people do. And I don't want to be surveilled, and I'm sure nobody else wants to be surveilled. I want my privacy, and I don't care how many times EPD says they will only use it for crime. Both the Democrats and the Republicans think dissent is crime, when it is the white supremacists who do all the crime. So everybody's pointing to protesters, and a lot of us are. Look what, no kings, look at that turnout. Since we're talking about crime, you realize there will be an uptick in thefts due to the rising costs. People will not be able to afford health care, food, housing. The homeless population will increase drastically. And Newsom wants to criminalize them? He's helping Trump. They will use the drones to monitor, arrest, and intimidate the homeless and people just trying to live. They may have to resort to thievery. I've done it. Lots of people have. So no matter who says what about it, law enforcement will probably use it to surveil and arrest innocents. They will ultimately help ICE, or they will add guns to it, because they can. You can take drones and you can fix them up whatever way you want. Or they will, they are part of a gun culture, and they think that is the answer to everything is guns. Perhaps they should talk before shooting people. No ICE, please. From what I can see happening around the country, local police protect ICE, not the civilians. And you wonder why we fear the cops? Why do we not trust government? They are very intimidating, and right now they're really pulling a lot of crap on us, especially with their guns. They need oversight. Please understand, we need more social workers than police. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. Welcome.
Thank you. Knock, knock. All right. I just want to echo the previous statement. It doesn't need to be adjusted.
Okay.
I just everybody loves cameras outside their house, right? You love to see, you love to look at your front door. You want to see who's stealing your packages. You want to make sure your kids are safe. No one likes a camera on them. And so the idea that this was even an idea that was amenable in the first place, that it wasn't scary, that it wasn't terrifying, is terrifying to me. I went out today before I knew that this had been pulled from the agenda, and I went out and I looked at the birds, and I tried to imagine, what if in 6 months there's a whole mix of drones above those birds, and I don't know why they're there, and no one who knows why they're there is liable to me and has to answer to me. That's terrifying. That's terrifying on a level of demons, on angels. Don't you understand that? Because right now Trump is going in and turning local police forces into his and saying that if he can't, it's against the Constitution. I can no longer leave the country because I am transgender, and that is something that I live with, and I have lived with since January. And it doesn't affect anybody on the council. But these ideas that local governments of 26,000 people can co-opt these grand weapons of evil overlords and use them for good is completely false. If this ever, or anything like it ever comes to this council, I will be here until I am dead, until I am silenced, because these things are terrifying. Over in Arcata, the government has called one of the local people who protested the last couple of meetings, called their job. They no longer have a job. Every time someone comes up here and speaks, they're putting themselves in danger if they do not have, like, basically extensive private property to lean on. People are not given power anymore individually. We only have power as a collective. And when the greater collective and the money is all focused on looking at the little people and putting them in prison, it breeds anger. And that is why everybody keeps showing up here angry. Because we ask for food and you give us guns. Please don't ever do anything like this again.
Come on up. Welcome.
I'm Jerry Post. I'm 73 years old. I've been a resident of Eureka since 1981. And on the 4th of July, I had a very nasty fall on the waterfront trail. I was one of many people that had parked at Target and was walking along dusk toward the fireworks show and past the Samoa Bridge area, approaching Halverson Park. It was very poorly, no lighting to speak of, kind of mass of people, and the asphalt along that stretch is in awful shape. I know it went in decades ago, and there was a large bump about 12 inches high. I was carrying a chair. I hit it with my right leg. I went down. I broke a rib. I hit my head. I had to go to the ER because I'm on blood thinners. I was rushed through to a CT scan within 10 minutes. Fortunately, there was no cerebral hemorrhaging, but I'd never had a broken rib before, and it takes a long time to heal from them. I subsequently learned that 3 other people fell along that stretch of trail that night and required treatment at the emergency room. I use that trail a lot. I'm grateful for it. A few weeks later, I'm walking and a guy on a bike came alongside me. He goes, "You have to be on a bike to know how awful this trail is." So that stretch is desperately in need of maintenance. It's a liability problem. It could have cost me my life. So I'm sincerely hoping that someone is looking at that and thinking about the maintenance. We're putting a lot of effort into trails, paved trails, motorized trails. We have some beautiful ones. But the ones we have that are being neglected need to be a priority as well. And that stretch, particularly with dusk and people walking, so many people, is really very dangerous. So appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you. Good evening. Come on up.
Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's doing okay. Sorry, I just ran from class. Here to speak about the little inclusion into the consent calendar, what I consider a pretty big piece of, potential research and development without giving the opportunity for public comment on it. And then really it's the city of Eureka's post on Facebook today or yesterday that just feels really disingenuous to think that the people who are opposed to this are opposed to search and rescue. The reason that people are opposed to this is because we see the weaponization of drones and of this surveillance state against citizens. And we're coming from this place of deep compassion and care for everyone and wanting everyone to be safe. And I know that that's your guys' concern too, right? And just as with 1040, just as with the LEAD program, these are things that outlast the tendency of the people who put them into place. These are things that we have to be very careful about because we see in Chicago, we see in all of these places right now, these things that we think of as innocuous and these institutions that we've relied on for so long to protect us being weaponized against citizens and against everything that we stand for and all of the hope and good that we try to put into this world. We also know that this current federal shutdown, I am a social worker. I work with youth. I have received 6 messages today alone, even though it's not a day I work, because DHHS sent the message to them that they may not be getting benefits next month. We have so many concerns in our community that we need to be addressing. And the idea that this isn't money, like if it is a donation or a grant or something for this, that's because the equipment isn't what's worth something. It's our data. Our data, our sovereignty. Surveillance does not protect us. It doesn't keep us safe. You have states like Texas that are turning over medical, HIPAA, protected information of our trans youth, the state can decide at any point in time that a certain being is no longer legal. And I'm not saying we need to be reactive or I'm just saying we need to be very careful and we need to think about what our legacy is and how these things can be used against us and trust each other, keep each other safe. I value you guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Come on up. Hello.
Hello. I'm here in person this time. Talk about.
I can't hear you, and for some reason, I can't lift the mic. It's not working here.
How do I sound
now? It's going up? Okay.
Okay.
Give me just a second. There you are.
I'm so high up. Your senior IT analyst told police he tried not to record my face, yet he quietly held his work phone above my head to film explicit acts involving my face and discreetly recorded me in my bedroom, showing me weeks later to praise his boyfriend as if I were a lamp. I was shocked to learn you had his police admission that he did not have my consent to do this. You sent his boyfriend here to claim it was consensual polyamory. That is news to me. They called me their friend while treating me like I wasn't a person. Nothing I consented to makes what he did beyond that less wrong. Just like how a hug is not permission to grope someone, he never had permission to record whatever the hell he wanted, nor hand Google videos of my nude body before I knew they existed. EPD advised me to withdraw, to allow you to conduct an investigation that never happened. He did nothing beyond a network drive search, never verified the files he sent, and handed the phone back for him to carry on as he pleased. His idea of consent was to outsource the labor to me, to stop him as he acted on impulse. Well, anything that got him to remember I'm a person, his boyfriend shut down as gratuitous. When he acknowledged the catch-22 they engineered, he refused to admit this regret to his boyfriend, saying it would upset him. Their worldview, in which his actions were nothing compared to the offense of describing them, meant my distress was vexing, but reporting how he did it with taxpayer-funded equipment as a public servant was unthinkable. So when questioned, they told police I have mental illness. I'm autistic, not crazy. My brain can't reconcile moral contradiction or pick up on obvious subtext. And they were furious when I failed to discern and resolve their unspoken grievances. I was open about my hyper-empathy, how people-pleasing is hardwired to prevent overload from others' emotions. They perceived this disabling neurological trait as ego, responded to my distress with disbelief that I'd be defending my own bodily autonomy. I stayed because they convinced me that at least they wouldn't exploit my ethnicity against me. Turns out that was another pretense of borrowed virtue held only as long as it served them. Their story that I commanded them to lobby the city council on behalf of a foreign government and cried persecution when they refused leaves me wondering why I didn't simply zap them with my people's space laser. This rhetoric isn't harmless. It's the same old playbook used to silence us and justify atrocities for millennia. Deploying the dual loyalty, puppet master, and victim complex tropes in one go not only reveals your unexamined racist biases, but reinforces those quietly held by ordinary people, until once again they're no longer quiet. The mitochondria my grandmother gave me survived genocide enacted by ordinary people to make me incapable of silence when indefensible acts are shielded by institutions. Whatever else they come up to say about me here, instead of in therapy, doesn't absolve you of your duty of care for what you allowed on your hardware and oversight. Thank you.
So is there anyone else here that wants to public comment? Mr. Wilson, welcome.
My name is Charles Wilson. We've been protesting at the courthouse corner there for about 5 years now. We've never been in the newspaper. At the beginning of the COVID nonsense times, we would get 15 to 20 honks, lots of rocks and a lot of fingers and screaming. But after the death data started leaking out, we were getting 600 to 700 honks in 2 hours. Motorists probably can't read our signs since they're driving by so fast, but they like to see a human waving at them. Motorists don't honk at a billboard. And here's the sign I currently carry. My sign says, no number 50. Government is our servant, not our master. The politicians in the states of California and Texas are our nation's leaders. They both think alike, both showing the proper way to control us people. California, however, is making a big mistake with the special election that's costing taxpayers $290 million. That's almost a third of $1 billion. It doesn't matter that California has a $20 billion deficit this year. We have an innovative group of high-paid legislators, however, and they know how to manipulate us in the direction they demand. They have lots and lots of tax money, but it shouldn't be wasted like Democrat Governor Newsom is doing. My suggestion is that instead of wasting so much money of our tax money on this stupid election game, we should have just passed a law giving Texas Democrats a third of $1 billion to fight their state's politicians' tricks to rig their election. California has 3 major political parties. The unaffiliated party is the fastest growing. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening to you all. The Bible tells us to pray for our government leaders and officials, and that's why I do. I'm thinking about the No King rally, and I see that there's tons of people gathered all over United States for that rally. And in my mind, I think I wonder if all those people that gathered for that No King rally would have prayed instead of protesting and spewing their hate and dislike for Trump. That would have been an amazing, glorious experience, and I'm certain that would have moved the hand of God. I am certain of it. But that's what we fell to, is protesting, and we will continue to protest things and waste our time. Nevertheless, love trumps hate. What a concept. I originally came here to pray for you guys as the Lord has placed on my heart. My season here has ended, so I want to leave you with a prayer. And I will continue to be praying for you guys, because I know that's what the Lord has asked of us to do as people. I know He's placed you in these positions for a reason, and I delight to pray for you. So my prayer is, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you His peace. May His mercy and grace be upon you and your family, on your businesses, on your jobs, on your possessions. I pray He protects you and draws you to Him. May He manifest His presence to you that leads you to repentance and rest. For the Lord says, call upon me and I will answer you, and I will tell you great and hidden things that you have not known. I will, like I said, continue to be praying for you. I pray that the Lord gets a hold of your heart. I pray that He knocks you off your horse. I don't know what it takes, but I just pray that He gets a hold of you, because He loves you. Just as He loves me. I am not exempt. He is not a respecter of persons. If He's gotten a hold of my heart after all the nonsense I've done, I know that He'll do it for you. Lord bless you and keep you. Thank you for your time. Amen.
Good evening.
Welcome.
My name is Misty, and first of all, I wanted to.
I'm gonna lower that for you.
I wanted to say the last time that I came here, and maybe even the time before that, I had allowed my passion and my emotion to rule over my better judgment. And the way that I spoke to you, perhaps, I know the last poem that I read for you guys was kind of harsh. It was right after Charlie Kirk had died. And, you know, for those of us who look at him as, you know, an icon of our faith, that was a very difficult and sad situation, and kind of scary, you know, that somebody could just be murdered like that in public. You know, it was awful. And it puts a little fear in your heart, you know. So I just wanted to humbly ask your forgiveness for maybe having a bad attitude, maybe. And I wrote you another poem. I'm a nobody to you, but if you knew what I've been through, you'd be asking me, instead of me having to stand here and try to convince you that what has worked for me can work for others too. I have more to offer than religion. I used to be just as skeptical of that as you, but my faith in Yahweh kept me going when everything else I had tried before failed too. So if you really want solutions to all the problems that face you, let's talk sometime and see what we can do. And I don't know if it's appropriate, but I left some cards here with my phone number. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience that's here for public comment? Seeing no one? Do you see anybody on Zoom?
R. Mayor and Council, I must offer a correction to my comment at the previous meeting. I had misunderstood what my partner had told me about his last conversation with my abuser. The comment that my abuser made about our lack of offering comment on the ceasefire resolution actually took place well over a year ago and was in regards to a previous, less neutral version of the resolution. The two of them were casually, non-confrontationally discussing how my partner is generally unable to offer public comment himself. When this conversation was recalled to me recently, I misunderstood and thought it was part of their final conversation. It was not my intent to use racial tension as a cudgel. my abuser, who themselves dropped out of Cal Poly Humboldt due to anti-Semitic language. That was going to be the only thing I was going to say tonight, and I was going to say it 2 weeks ago, but I guess that meeting was canceled. However, last week we discovered something disturbing. I stopped contact with this person in February, and my partner stopped contact with them in March. This person, however, continued to attempt contact with us before finally stopping in May. At least that's what we thought. While looking through my partner's spam folder for an unrelated missed email, we discovered that this person has still been emailing us, creating new email addresses to get around our block. We assume that the Gish Gallop wall of text nature of these messages was what made Gmail mark them as spam. We have no idea how many emails we have missed, as the spam folder only goes back 30 days. In the emails we do have, this person continues to attempt to gaslight us into believing that they have done nothing wrong and that we are some sort of monsters. To say that we are stressed is an understatement. Until last week, we've never felt that we needed to get security cameras or buy a system from Advanced Security or seek a restraining order. I don't know where to go from here, but I don't feel safe in my own front yard anymore. Sorry to waste more of your time again.
Thank you. Do you see someone else?
I see no one else on Zoom.
Okay, seeing no one else on Zoom, we're going to close the public comment and bring it to council reports. And we will start with Councilmember Castellano. Council reports?
I didn't hear what you said. Yes, it's been a little while since we've had a council meeting. I attended the Eureka Visitor Center Industry Night. Several meetings related to Live Well Humboldt. Live Well Humboldt is a kind of a coalition of people working across different sectors around public health and wellness. Several Eureka Main Street related meetings, the regular board meeting, I chair the Economic Vitality, along with Alyssa Woods, the Economic Vitality meeting, and the Mornings on Main Street this morning. Let's see, some meetings related to the Eureka Cultural Arts District, the Humboldt Waste Management Authority board meeting, the Harbor 2x2 meeting, and I attended Senator McGuire's press conference yesterday, celebrating a big investment into mental health, rehabilitation and services at Mad River Hospital and at Sorrel Leaf. I know, I'm sure other council members and the mayor will also report on that. I also attended a tour of the Rue d'Alagour Food Sovereignty Lab and Traditional Ecological Knowledge Institute, which is a really incredible asset for the community. And I did not I did travel to visit my mom, but not anything related to city council since I've been here.
Thank you. Councilmember Moulton?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it's been a long time since we've done reports, that's for sure. So I have quite a list. I attended, along with several of my colleagues and city department heads and staff, the League of California Cities conference. Mostly I was paying attention to, I attended sessions around lots of different things around disaster preparedness, whether it's data security or communication. I brought up a lot of really great questions to ask our good folks here. This last weekend, I attended the No Kings protest as a citizen, but also as a representative of the Second Ward and a person who has taken an oath to defend the Constitution. It was a joyous community gathering in solidarity for democracy. I attended the red carpet event for One Battle After Another, along with the Film Commission and some great people, some locals who were in that. What an incredible celebration of our community and our beautiful locations. I attended the Democrat of the Year dinner, where our local Democrats honored Brenda Perez from Central del Pueblo, who's doing great work in our community, especially, I would say, empowering and protecting our immigrant and Latino neighbors. I attended the groundbreaking of our new ops complex up in the Second Ward, got the golden shovel out, and broke some ground. It's going to be nice. It's going to be nice to move all the stuff up there, all of our emergency equipment out of the tsunami zone. Go figure. I attended the Six Rivers Planned Parenthood held a briefing for local elected officials on how federal laws affect our local access to healthcare. That was very informative. The city held a summer shindig, like the city as an employer, and I got to see and hang out with a lot of the staff that I don't get to see on a regular basis. This is a huge organization, really, and to see folks and their families and everybody out in the Sacred Amphitheater having fun there. The Redwood Music Festival was lively and all over town, and that is all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Fernandez. Yeah, it's you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as other folks, a little bit of travel here. I think back during the last week of September, attended the National Association for Latino Elected Officials Conference on critical infrastructure and disaster preparedness. My takeaways from that is we're not going to be able to count on FEMA for a whole lot, if anything, moving forward, but there are other resources available, particularly when we're looking at resilience and strengthening our infrastructure, particularly if we can establish a relationship with the Army Corps of Engineers. I had the opportunity to attend that with Councilmember Contreras-Deloche, along with one of our other neighboring council members, Kimberly White in Arcata. Let's see. Was supposed to have attended a ride-along, but the weather was not permitting for that, and so we rescheduled that. Attended a 2x2 with the Chamber of Commerce, who is still wanting to, and Councilmember Moulton was there as well. There's a lot that went on in the last few weeks. I'm expecting some of you to fill in the gaps for me as well. But getting more to the point on what we're talking about later tonight with our nitrous ordinance here, and then wanting to establish relationship with between the businesses and the unhoused advocates in the community. Likewise, attended the Democrat of the Year event that honored Brenda Perez and the work that she's done in the community, along with Central del Pueblo and everything that they do. Just as everyone else up here, attended the League of California Cities Conference in Long Beach. My takeaways from that were largely on the homeless house and housing funding through the state and where there are gaps there, local taxes, and then there was one in particular about centralized communication and community engagement, which I enjoyed, and then about AI policies, which I know I've brought up to our city manager and may have an ask later tonight. I had to miss a 2x2 with the Eureka City Schools last week, but I'm pleased to hear that we're continuing forward with helping them find a site for their Community Resources Center. Also attended an event hosted by our current Assembly member, Chris Rogers, I think 2 weekends ago. Just as others, attended the No King's Day protest and rally this past weekend, and then just as well as some other folks, attended the presser that Senator McGuire had on the North Coast healthcare and how we've acquired approximately $70 million worth of funding for our mental health needs here in Humboldt County. So looking at Soar Leaf and Sempervirens and those type of things. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bauer.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I also attended the summer shindig, and just want to thank city employees for the great job they do. Had a Redwood Coast Energy Authority meeting. Gosh, it was like a month ago now, but we haven't been around to discuss all this. Energy is an interesting topic these days just because of the lack of federal funding going away. Unfortunately, it's going to affect a lot of our sustainable energy goals, but we're working through it. I did attend the Cal Cities conference in Long Beach, like a lot of us here, and I really enjoy meeting with all the other city council members and talking about our issues. We met with the Redwood Empire Division, which is the group that we're all involved in here, elected some new leadership, a lot of policy committee meetings. I took a media and crisis communications training, which was really excellent. I attended the board of directors meeting, which was kind of uneventful for Cal Cities, but which is rare, but it was great. I also attended a coastal cities meeting where, excuse me, the main topic was really sea level rise and how cities are trying to address that through, funding and all these things. And we all have a lot of similarities, of course, as coastal cities, and how are we going to address sea level rise? I did meet with Assemblyman Rogers. He came and talked to us about kind of what are our issues, how's he doing, how can he help us out. It was great. He's a great representative for our region. I also met with Senate candidate Damon Connolly, who is a great guy and really curious as to how he can help, be active in our community for this Senate seat. I also attended the No Kings rally, and it was like a kind of a reunion. Ran into a lot of people I haven't seen in years. It was a great camaraderie, and it was fun to take part in that. And I think that's it for me right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Contreras-Deloche.
Okay. I also attended the summer shindig. I got to finish that course on Indigenous conservation collaboration. I learned so much from it that there's a way that I don't know how to do it, but at some point I would love to try to convey to the council some of what I learned and some of the takeaways and how we might be able to implement some great stuff. But I also attended the NALIO conference in El Paso on emergency preparedness. My takeaway was one of my big takeaways that Councilmember Fernandez and I both was jaw-dropping, was finding out that work with the Army Corps of Engineers, that you can enlist them sometimes, and other communities have been enlisting them to help them with running their water pipelines and extending, I think they're called affluent lines. So that was a real revelation. There's a number of other things too. Went to Humboldt Bay Fire's open house. That was great. It was incredible to watch the firefighters do a competition on how quickly they could get completely suited up, and it was so fast. I was really impressed. And my little boy sprayed someone in the face, and they handled it so well. Anyway, and then I went to Cal Cities. I got very sick through most of it. Fun to be sick when you're out of town, but I did get to attend a few of the legal classes while I was there, and I got to attend a luncheon and I got to sit at a table with people from law firms that we work with, and that was really enlightening. But the classes I did get to attend, one was on CVRA, which is California Voting Rights Act, and what that's going to be looking like for election equity and that kind of thing, given the just how things are working now. And then also another one I got to attend was called Policy Shifts and Legal Battles, and it was about the Trump administration's impact on local government, which is something that, we're kind of already starting to see and starting to address just on, being prepared for changes in how funding structures, but also, people losing our citizenry, succumbing to housing insecurity that they don't presently have and that kind of thing, and just kind of how to prepare. Went to College of the Redwood Science Night with my family. We've been doing this forever. It is the coolest thing ever. I went to EPOA's Port Update. That's the Elected Officials to Protect America. Chris Mickelson spoke at that, as did Rob Holmlin, Alex Cornell DeHoo, and Benjamin Collins, who's senator from Maine. A few different people spoke on that. And I was really there's still a lot that they're doing. They're still continuing to do everything they can to kind of move forward on port development and to really just be prepared for whatever we're going to do so that this is a utilized parcel and that we have a good economic plan and vision kind of moving forward. Let's see. Also got to go to the event with Assemblyman Chris Rogers. I also really appreciate how accessible he is, how dialed in, very much like Senator McGuire, very in touch. It's not a partisan thing, just very focused on making sure that they're getting help and aid to us. And on that note, went to Senator McGuire's press conference yesterday, approximately $70 million. They're rebuilding Sempervirens, which I participated in something back in 2019 where we had to go through and inspect, and so long overdue. I'm so glad that there's going to be a new facility. They're also got money for Sorrel Leaf, which is an inpatient help facility for youth that are experiencing mental health crises, which is just good. I got to see Brenda Perez from Central del Pueblo be honored, and her speech was so touching. And I feel like I'm missing something. Let's see here. Oh, on the way back, I need to say this. We got stranded in the airport, and I feel like this is important. I'm going to put in a little plug for Mayor Burgell for a second. She jogged the length of the whole airport in cowgirl boots, made it there before any of us. We still missed the plane, and we missed our connection. But I'm going to call it now that I have complete confidence that she's going to qualify for the Boston Marathon. Because if you can do that in cowgirl boots,
Mind you, it was the San Francisco airport, not our airport which she had to jog.
It was real far. It was real far, and she did it with a backpack. So I don't know. HBF may want to recruit her for something too. I don't know. We'll see. On Saturday, my daughter got married. So that was how I got to spend my Saturday. We were down at Bimbo. It was beautiful, and it was exciting. Nobody asked, but I'm telling you anyway, it was fantastic and awesome, and it was super great to get to celebrate with family. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to add really briefly. Fantastic report, council member. I think you meant effluent lines, not affluent lines. I don't think we're at the point where we're flushing the rich out to the bay.
You know, this is something that guys do that bothers me. Just let it go.
All right, friends, we can talk about this later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so a few things from me. So I too obviously attended the League of Cities, and I did a lot of the meetings about trust in local government and youth. A lot of things about youth. I did enjoy the mayor and council member department meeting, and I did want to say that we got to see Erin Brockovich, who is a dynamic speaker. She was. I would encourage everyone to watch her TED Talk, but she was really amazing. And just the stick-to-itiveness was the thing that she was pitching, and she certainly has that. And I don't. That's such a great quality, and it's something to always work on, regardless of what we're doing in life. I think it was a great message. I too attended the Democrat of the Year, honoring Brenda and Centro de Pueblo, and I have to tell you, there were these amazing Aztec dancers, incredible. They were kids. Everybody's a kid to me these days, but they were kids, and it was just really cool. And then, of course, Brenda really brought it home with her presentation and, with her acceptance speech, and really talking again about, this idea of cohesiveness and community and, being there for each other, which is Erin Brockovich, which is just happening a lot in our communities, probably because of the political climate. I don't know that for certain. I attended Betty Chin's St. Francis Blessing of the Animals. Totally Forrest Gump my way into that one. I was riding my bike, and I just happened to show up, and there they were. And so that was pretty neat. Went to the multicultural fair at Zane Middle School. I was so proud of this. Some of my students did some of the dancing. And also Central de Pueblo did a play regarding opening the door, not opening the door, safety for people, and kind of what that looks like. Because you know what, friends, you don't have to open the door. That was a was really brought home. I did attend Oktoberfest at the zoo. It was very well attended. It was so much fun, and the bears were out. They had a little picnic. I went to the cultural food distribution at Alice Burney. That was done by the White Lotus Dancers, Regional Center Food for People, and I think it was RC something, forgive me. Did the cleanup at Packout with Packout at Hillficker. If you've never done a cleanout, for people out there too, if you've never done a cleanup with Packout Green Team, I really encourage you to try it just once. You will have such a great time. There's a great group of people. We're doing something meaningful. It's only an hour. They give you gloves and a picker. It's a great way to engage with community. I didn't go to the film the night, opening night, but I did go see one battle after another. And again, seeing Eureka High and, Leonardo running through Sequoia Park, it was just amazing. I attended the HCOG meeting. I attended the McGuire Town Hall, which I'm so grateful they are finally, these things take so long, but we're going to finally be working to get a facility for our youth that currently are being sent out on the regular when they have a mental health crisis, which isn't necessarily the best for them to be away from their families. I also attended the Ops Complex, and then just a couple other things. Oh, and then I got to talk to 2 different classes, 6th grade classes, about the Tallawat return and what that looked like, and we watched the movie, and they had a lot of questions, and that was really cool. Went to the summer shindig. There was a lot going on around here. I was out of town last weekend. I was so bummed because I missed Bark at the Park. I was so sad. That's always a fun event, so that's why I wasn't there. I was out actually with my family seeing the Bee Gees. Yes, the Bee Gees tribute band, so that was pretty cool. 2 other things. Zumbathon for breast cancer and OBGYN is happening this Saturday at the Adorney, 2 to 4 p.m. Come by, donate to the raffle, get your groove on. And there was one other thing. Oh, and then there's Pathways to Payday are coming forward November 3rd through 6th. So if you know people that are looking for a job, there's that opportunity available. So that was quite a lot. Thank you so much for listening to all of us. And now let's get on with our business. So we have the consent calendar. As you all are aware, G6 has been pulled and will not be discussed. And G9 will be pulled as well. And can I get
Mayor, G9 will still, it's being pulled for a reason, and we're going to discuss it. It's not taken off the agenda.
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry. G9 will be pulled for discussion. Just point of clarification there. Thank you. And can I get Councilmember Fernandez?
I'll move to approve the remaining balance of the calendar minus G9 for discussion and G6. Just not at all.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. So G9, City Manager Slattery?
I believe that we pulled this so that Leslie can explain why she's going to be recusing herself.
Yes. My day job provides support for Humboldt Asians and Pacific Islanders in solidarity, so I'm recusing myself on this item.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is related to the Eureka Chinatown Monument Project, which is a project that's been in front of Council multiple times. We have worked with Hoppy, Humboldt Asian Pacific Islanders in solidarity to assist them in getting funding for this project and also assist them in the location. So this location is going to be on the southeast corner of D and 1st Street. We have a little landscaped kind of plaza area there, and it's going to be converted into a monument project for Chinatown. Hoppy retained all of the funding for this through local donations and grant funding, and since it's because it's on our property, we have to follow our procurement processes and make sure that we go through the appropriate bid process for a public works project. So our staff signed a project manager to this put it out to bid. The low responsive bidder for that was Sequoia Construction Specialties in the amount of $218,000. We're requesting the council approve $225,000 for a contingency on that project. And so with that, the recommendation is to declare Sequoia Construction Specialties the low bidder for bid number 2025-16, the Eureka Chinatown Monument Project, and award bid number 2025-16 to the Sequoia Construction Specialties for the amount of $218,000 and approve $225,000 for construction, which is approximately 3% contingency. If there's any questions, I'm available.
Are there any questions for City Manager Slattery? Seeing none, we'll open this item up for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to comment on this item? Seeing no one in chambers, is there anyone on Zoom?
I see no one on Zoom.
So we will bring it back to council for a motion. Councilmember Moulton.
Just a quick comment that I just really appreciate this project. I love that the city is able to basically give over a very small little postage stamp and then help to make sure that this happens. And I'm very proud of the members of Happy and all the work that they've done. And very glad to see this going forward. And I will move the staff recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. Please vote.
Four yes votes. Councilmember Castellano has left chambers. Motion carries.
Thank you. This brings us to legislative action correspondence. I'll have to wait for Councilmember Bauer to get back. Yeah, and Castellano. Legislative action correspondence. Great. Okay. This moves us to ordinances and resolutions. Bill number 1050 CS, sales of nitrous oxide ordinance. City Manager Slattery.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council, once again. So to give a little background on this item, we're recommending that we introduce Bill number 1050 CS, the sales of nitrous oxide ordinance. For a little background on this has been probably a little over a year process that's been happening. All of the local city managers from the unincorporated cities as well as the CAO from the county meet on a monthly basis, and through those discussions we had discussions about the issues that our communities are having with nitrous oxide. We wanted to make sure that if there was going to be some regulations around this, that it had teeth and that had the ability to be effective. And so over those discussions, the city managers agreed that this would be something they would like their elected officials to look at, as well as the CAO and one of their board of supervisors to look at it. And so a draft ordinance was put together. It was sent around to all of the different city managers in the CAO for review. The ordinance itself prohibits the attempt to sell, offer, distribute, or provide nitrous oxide to any person. There are certain exemptions into the ordinance. The exemptions related to nitrous oxide are for medical purposes and food grade food products. I want to clarify that when it says food grade products, it are already packaged products. So it would be your whipped cream that's already in a canister that you would buy from a grocery store, or any other already prepackaged item at a grocery store. I want to make a clarification that in here, I apologize for some of the language in here. At the end of the agenda summary, I stated that right now the Humboldt County has passed this same nitrous ordinance. Arcata has passed the ordinance, as well as Rio Dell. When I said that Blue Lake, Fortuna, Trinidad, and Ferndale are in the process of doing so, I should have added pending approval by their elected bodies. Those other four incorporated counties are intending to take it to their boards for consideration over the next couple of months. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Questions? Councilmember Moulton?
Thank you very much. And thank you for the clarification on language. I'd hate people to think that anyone was walking into these chambers already having made up their mind about something. So my question, a couple questions. One, isn't it already illegal in the state of California to sell nitrous oxide for recreational purposes? Or for direct consumption?
Correct, it is. And the reason why this was brought forward through all the different local government agencies is because it allows us with resources in order to address the issue. Right now, it's very similar to when we discussed the camping ordinance, that we don't have purview to, we can put them in, we can write them a citation, we can send them to the courts, and then it's up to the courts on how that's determined to have the prosecutorial authority over it. By doing this in-house, it allows us to have the prosecutorial authority over it.
And if EPD, for example, or code enforcement came across somebody selling nitrous oxide with flavors in it, or with like mouthpieces attached or something like that, they could put them up they could charge them and put them up for a citation.
Yeah, and then that would go to the DA's office. I believe the chief is here.
He's here. Chief, are you aware of any citations for selling nitrous against the state law that has happened recently?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. When it comes to businesses, we generally don't enforce that against businesses because it's hard to tell. They're selling it for the purposes of commercial use, and all you have to go in and say that you're buying it for commercial use. And it isn't until you start using it, or you're selling the little canisters after that outside of their main packages one by one, that it becomes more or less a sales case. So it's from us trying to regulate a business selling a large amount of nitrous to any citizen is tough, because they can say, well, I'm making whipped cream, and there's no reason we can't buy that much nitrous.
So is there nothing in the state law that designates something on the sales side as being for consumption directly, like say being cherry flavored, for example?
Not to my knowledge, is it?
No, in the research that staff had done, that's the intent of the sale of this, is they put that flavored in there to say it is for food consumption, and they put the sign on there that this is for food consumption only.
Okay. I'll say they have a sign, they have a sticker, so they're golden. One other question, why there's exceptions carved out clearly for products that already have nitrous in it that are coming in, your canned whipped creams and stuff like that, and for dentist offices or other medical professionals that use these. Why no exception for restaurants or coffee shops?
So that was discussed as a part of this amongst the group, and it was from most of the law enforcement side, as well as the administrators of each of these municipal governments, that that would lead to loopholes so that people could still do what they're exactly doing now. Those same companies that are selling this against state law could still sell this to individuals who came in and said that I own a store for that I use this for whipped cream or whatever it may be. I should have added that we've had multiple conversations with the Chamber of Commerce about this. There are other businesses that do use nitrous, but none of those were relayed to us locally. The only one that they had concerns about was the coffee shops.
Just a follow up to that. My understanding is that this would prohibit the sale, but not the possession. So, for example, if a coffee shop owner wanted to drive to Reading or somewhere and buy a lot of nitrous and come back for their own business uses, that would not be illegal.
Correct. The language is making it unlawful for any person in the city, with exceptions, which we spoke about, to sell, attempt to sell, offer, distribute, or provide nitrous oxide. It does not state possession of.
And I have one more, since I don't see anybody else jumping on.
There is one. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Last one. And this is about the public nuisance of nitrous oxide. I appreciate, minors doing this sort of thing. It's not good. Folks driving under the influence of anything at all that impairs their driving is a public nuisance. I guess the question is about driving under the influence. Does the law draw any distinction between what substance is impairing someone's driving?
Driving under the influence is driving under the influence. I will state that it's not just the nuisance. As a matter of fact, the department within the county that took this on and did a lot of the legwork as far as inspections and going to all of the different tobacco retailers and head shops and other things that sell nitrous, that came out of their environmental health. So to them, this is very much a health and safety issue, and not necessarily just a nuisance.
Thank you. That's all for now.
Thank you. Councilmember Fernandez.
Going back to what you were just highlighting there, City Manager, could you give a bit more on that, as they found it related to as they found it related to being a nuisance to public safety?
So, well, just a lot of the cases that we've had a case where a community member was high on this and ended up killing somebody on our streets. There's plenty of cases of underage and adults that have consumed this and ended up in the ER and ended up in really bad situations. From their perspective, when they did this, it was somewhat related to their tobacco retailer licensing ordinance. They went in and found that a lot of those that were selling tobacco were selling flavored tobacco, and when they were doing that, they also noticed that a lot of those entities were also selling nitrous, and so this kind of spawned from that. But a lot of it had to do with their inspections related to that. In the city of Eureka, which includes everything that sells tobacco, not just tobacco shops. So we're talking Safeway, Safeway's not in the city, excuse me, but gas stations, those type of things. There's 31 of them or 33, somewhere in the 30s of total places in Eureka city limits that sell tobacco.
Okay, and then while you're talking about within city limits, what's to prevent anyone from going on Amazon and buying the little containers for?
So it'd be very similar to our other ordinance, and I think City Attorney Black may be able to help me with this. When we did the butane ordinance, there's a way to prevent that from happening based on zip codes, and so we would do the same as we did for the butane, so that if somebody went on there and you put in a zip code that was to be delivered to their area, it would say that this is prohibited in that area and you cannot have it delivered to you.
Okay, and that's and that goes into then why this had to be as much of a coordinated effort as it needed to. If we're basing it on zip code, then there's part of Eureka that's in 03 and part of it that's not. So,
well, it's also the region itself and the county. So let's say we were to do this, Arcata was to do it, and the county was to do it, but Blue Lake chose not to do it. There would be an ability for people to go to Blue Lake to purchase that.
Okay. And then can you tell me how we made the determination of $1,000 fine and a misdemeanor rather than, say, $500 and an infraction?
I'll do my best. If City Attorney Black wants to chime in, please do. It's very similar to other ordinances. I think that's kind of the misdemeanor standard fine that we have. That could be at the discretion of council. It says up to $1,000. It could be up to whatever council.
I'm sorry. I think it says $1,000 and not up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that can be
maybe punished by a term in the county jail or by a fine of $1,000. So it's either or is how I read it. And so maybe if we can get some better definition in that.
That's if council chooses to change that. That's to your discretion.
Councilmember Contreras-Deloche.
Thank you, Mayor. This is kind of probably more a question maybe for other council members that sit on 2x2s and boards where they have a lot of communication with local businesses. I'm just curious for those of you that sit like on Chamber or work with Main Street, if you have heard any concerns from community members about increased costs. I'm not really clear on why there's a preference for the nitrous versus like the other one. So I'm wondering if you guys might have, if anybody's talked with you about it.
Councilmember Moulton?
I suppose I can speak to that. I'm on the 2x2 with the chamber, and in the conversations that we had, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, they're clearly concerned about public safety as well, but they're wondering why there can't be a carve out for restaurants. The aesthetic, like the nitrous puffed whipped cream, the nitrous brewed coffee, the nitrous foamed beers have a different taste and a different quality and a different texture to them, and it's preferred. And the idea is that some folks would go to one coffee shop versus another based on the product that they're offering, and that is a higher quality product. So they were concerned about not being able to offer the same higher quality products.
And Councilmember Castellano, did you want to comment on that?
Oh, you're asking specifically about restaurants?
Asking about businesses, but I'm assuming that mostly because we already have carve outs from medical, dental, that kind of thing. And so it does mostly just pertain to coffee houses. I hadn't even thought about the things, you don't know when you don't, but I hadn't even thought about the beer thing. Is beer nitrous?
My understanding is it's not nitrous, it's CO2 that does that, but
there are beers that are pressurized with nitrous or like foamed with nitrous after the fact, and there are just the same that they would do with whipped cream, and there are coffees that they press through. And when you add carbon dioxide to, it's not to get too foodie about it, but when you add carbon dioxide, it adds carbonic acid, which changes the flavor of a food. And when you add nitrous, nitrogen doesn't react with the food in the same way. I mean, does that outweigh the danger to the public from this? I'm not trying to speak to that.
No, I really appreciate that. I appreciate the explanation, because I have wondered if it's, what all it might be impacting. And if they've said if that makes a difference in cost as well.
I don't think that there is an alternative. The idea of buying the canisters of whipped cream that you can get that already have the nitrous in it, that would be an exception in this law, are not the sort of thing you would buy wholesale and use in a business. That's a more consumer grade product. It's too expensive. They're buying bulk whipping cream and then foaming it themselves in their own equipment. There's not an alternative besides doing the carbon dioxide, which is just, again, changes the flavor. It's a quality of product concern.
Thank you. Fun facts.
But
Councilmember Castellano.
Yeah. Well, according this, I think is a question for City Attorney Black. According to my reading of this, in Section 1 of C, the section does not apply to the sale of nitrous oxide contained in food products or for use as a propellant. Would actually, there's nothing that specifically says that a coffee shop couldn't be, in that instance, a coffee shop would be selling a food product. They're not selling nitrous. They can't buy it. But they could buy it from a restaurant distributor?
No, this would keep them from being able to do it.
So perhaps Attorney Black could address that?
Yes, I'm happy to.
Thank you.
So it's my belief, and happy to take another look at this, but the language referred to by Councilmember Castellano would exempt restaurants from a prohibition if they were using nitrous as an accelerant. Basically, I think we're talking whipped cream. I'm not sure what other products are accelerated like that. But I think that's true. I think that usage is covered and is exempt.
Thank you for clarifying.
Bob, the interpretation that has been made for this is because of the possession part of it. They would need to purchase a canister and then make a food product with that canister. And so my understanding of the interpretation when this was drafted was that was meant to be the food products that were already made in the canister.
In other words, pre-made and not made in process with pure nitrous?
Yes. So in other words, the ones that you go in and you buy at your grocery store, that is a whipped cream canister. Because if they're buying this, they would be in possession of those definitions of nitrous oxide solely.
So back to Councilmember Contreras Deloche.
Yeah, so that's how it had been explained to me, is that it would prevent that there was no carve out or exemption for coffee houses and apparently now bars. This is all, or even just desserts. This is all news to me. So I really appreciate the information. I guess I'm wondering then why if there isn't some way that we couldn't, for instance, spray paint is locked up and you have to go and get somebody to come and whatever, and then you have to show your ID or, to just buy spray paint because people were huffing it. So I'm just wondering if while we're doing this, if there isn't some way we can't do some kind of similar thing where that there's, a permit or something that allows a restaurant or these others to have a designated person who is allowed to purchase these for their business.
I don't know how a designated person would be regulated. I mean, that's a possibility. As far as allergy medicine, things like that are locked up and stuff like that, I mean, we'd still have the same policing issue. I mean, the issue why we're putting this forward is because we have businesses that are selling this under the guise of food quality, and I'm sure that would continue to happen whether it was locked up behind a bin or made to show ID.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm sure you're right. I think when people want to get a hold of substances, they find a way. And so I think with that in mind, I don't want to make things more difficult on legitimate businesses who are trying to do something while also, I'm trying to maybe think of a way to.
I will say this in our concessions with the chamber that I've had with their executive director, they're not going to smoke shops to buy their nitrous.
Sure. Is this only going to affect smoke shops, or this is going to affect the sale?
Affects everybody. Head shops, smoke shops.
Sure.
Right now,
so then that
the areas
really
that we're familiar of it being said are at tobacco shops and head shops.
Right. But this would prohibit them from buying it from any place that they are currently purchasing it from inside city limits.
Correct. Or delivered. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Fernandez.
It was just because I had already spoke, so thank you. Going kind of off of that notion and looking at the exceptions, we're using the NAICS here, the North American Industry Classification System, to say that these particular industries are exempt if they're operating within the city of Eureka and they need nitrous, correct?
I assume so. Bob, if it's any different, please chime in.
Because I'm looking at that, and then if it's a classification issue, then wouldn't we be able to add restaurants or coffee shops, which I do believe have a different designation under that system? So wouldn't we be able to add them as an exemption then?
Council can form this however they choose to. We would have to likely do research to see whether or not that is something that is feasible to request these places to monitor, and see whether or not they have that qualification. How that works, I'm not familiar with. If there's a lookup system and there's names in that lookup system, I'm not sure.
Councilmember Moulton.
I think it's already been clarified. I just want to clarify that the restaurants could and the coffee shops could purchase nitrous, and they could make it into a food product, and they could sell that. The thing is, there wouldn't be any retailers or wholesalers who would be allowed to sell it to them within the county. They would have to go outside of the area in order to get that, in order to bring it back in order to turn it into a product and then sell it legally.
Correct.
Just adding that.
If somebody was adamant about wanting to use a canister in order to make their whipped cream or foam their beers, if that's the right term, they could go to Sonoma County, they could go to Redding, they could go to somewhere outside of Humboldt County currently, and could currently go to those 4 jurisdictions that are listed on here now that have not sought for a vote on this ordinance. Trying to use the right words.
Thank you. Councilmember Bauer.
it seems to me, well, I want to clarify too, like nitrogen in beer is nitrogen and CO2. It's not nitrous oxide. So that's not something to worry about. But I
My
think
mistake. That was an example that was given to me
it's
by
all
the
right.
bartenders.
Yeah. But I think the thing we need to figure out is where do coffee shops get their nitrogen? I'm sure it's a commercial food retailer or something. Exempt them and call it good. And everybody else can't sell it. And then the problem is solved, right? I mean, they got to be getting it wholesale from somewhere. Figure that out. Add that to the list of exemptions, and we can move on.
Yeah, and we have spoken with 3. We haven't spoke to Starbucks, but there's only one that I'm aware of that of the 3 that we've spoken to that do this, and so we could have that discussion. I did not ask who their vendor is and where they get it from. I don't know.
Okay. Councilmember Castellano?
Yeah, related to Councilmember Bauer's kind of question, and I only know of one. I drink a lot of coffee. I only know of one coffee shop in Eureka that's using homemade whipped cream, but it's,
Well, just to be clear, homemade whipped cream would be done by hand.
Or right,
Just to make sure.
Sorry,
And it's delightful. It's delightful.
The nuances. Okay. Thanks for the clarification. Which could be a great alternative for people. But anyway, some of the specificity we're getting into is not outlined in the ordinance itself. It's, in terms of like whether someone can order it or not, like isn't actually, like addressed here.
But the possession part of it is.
Sure.
I mean, the selling part of it is.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like a restaurant could order this item because that's going to be decided in the application of the ordinance, not in the ordinance itself.
Like we said, if they possess it, there's not a violation of the ordinance. If they find a way around either ordering it to this zip code or going to an outside area and getting it from somewhere other than Eureka, yes.
I get that. So what I'm trying to get somewhere with this. So, it seems like when we get to the point of applying it, like when we make a designation for zip codes, I think that we could probably make a designation for, restaurants or coffee shops with, a retail license can buy it from wholesalers, right? Like in terms of like putting that into the designation.
We would really need to look into that to see how we could monitor that to ensure that happens. From my perspective, it seems that if there is a specific wholesaler that's selling this to restaurants and they get it here locally, to look into them and saying if you purchase it from them. I think that the issue that you would have there is I'm not sure whether the vendors check and see if they are a restaurant or check and see. I mean, I could maybe talk to these vendors and order that same thing.
Sure. I mean, at a certain point, we can only get so granular.
True, and I just want to emphasize the main evidence behind it is I don't want to call it an epidemic, is the main health and safety issue that's been going on related to this. And it's significant when you talk to the numbers to the ER, and it's significant when you talk to environmental health, and it's significant when you talk to the amount of sales that we have in our area for nitrous oxide.
I agree it's a problem. I'm just saying, in terms of like whether we go after a restaurant that's ordering nitrous oxide that we know sells it.
Well, we wouldn't be going after them. They wouldn't be fined. It would be who sold it to them.
Exactly. Thank you.
Councilmember Fernandez.
When would this ordinance go into effect if approved tonight?
If adopted, it would go 30 days from the date of adoption.
Yeah. But we could ask that this be pushed out to January 1, and in the meantime, ask if there is a way to look into further exemptions.
So if we did that, that would likely be considered a substantive change. So yes, we could do that. You could put it out to a certain date. And when you put it out to that date and there were exemptions, it would be considered a substantive change to this. And that would be the introduction. And then you'd have to do another thing to adopt it after that.
This is the introduction.
Correct, but if we were to go out and research an exemption and we added another exemption, I think City Attorney Black, would you agree that that would be substantive?
Yeah, I think that would be substantive. If you wanted it to go in effect on January 1, then one method would be to delay the introduction from tonight and put your introduction on the next meeting and research some amendments between now and then. But you could also introduce it tonight and then add your additional exemptions as an amendment to this ordinance. In other words, let this go ahead and take effect earliest and yet come along later with some additional amendments. So you basically have two paths.
Councilmember Contreras-Deloche.
Yeah, I have a question. So under the exceptions.
Is your mic on?
It is on.
Oh, okay.
Can you not hear me? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're quiet.
Am I quiet?
Yeah, you are.
I'm tired. Okay. Under the exceptions part, under section, number 4. So these are the exceptions. The following conduct is accepted from the prohibitions of this chapter. And then number 4 says, any other administration of nitrous oxide, sale, offer, or attempt to sell, distribution, or provision of nitrous oxide made lawful by federal or state of California law. State of California law still allows it for the purposes of coffee houses and restaurants. So can it not be included under that? I mean, would that really be a carve out? Could we not just do what Councilmember Bauer said and addenda it? I may be making up a word again.
I mean, Bob, City Attorney Black, I think you need to answer this because I mean, if you go by that, the tobacco shops and the and the head shops are complying with state law right now because they're saying food. They're saying food grade.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about number 4 because it seems like we're saying if it's okay at the state or federal level. I'm just wondering, though, if we could. I'm wondering if that language there is too loose, like you said, to allow things that we're trying to keep from happening. But I'm also wondering if it leaves us wiggle room to try to do the carve out that's been suggested.
So we could take a deeper look at this. But my interpretation of the expression made lawful means that it is specifically targeted and designated as a lawful activity as opposed to just neglected to make it unlawful. So that is different than made it lawful. But again, that might be worth a closer look. Might be a reason to defer introduction until the next meeting, if you have a number of things like that you want looked at in greater depth.
Councilmember Castellano.
Just to say the state's law does not preempt stricter local ordinances, so ours may be stricter and is stricter than state law. We wouldn't be countering state law because there's permissions already made within state law to allow for stricter local ordinances.
Thank you. Okay, are there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll open this item up for public comment. Is there anyone from the public who choose to speak on this matter? Come on up.
Hi again, Amy Scott. Thanks for the deliberations on this. I really appreciate the gravity that you're giving the language in these kind of things, and I'm of two minds on this. As somebody who works with youth and sees the real harm and detriment that this causes, it's really neurodegenerative. It just can literally destroy brains. And then, from a harm reductionist viewpoint, people are going to seek this. Like Renee already said, if you want access to something, you're going to get access to something. And so, the literature on banning things, it introduces stigmatization. It creates an underground kind of pathway for these things, and it takes away agency from individuals. and it causes so much harm. So it's one of these things where it's like, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But, you know, if you go to, if you like, the drug wars have not worked, are not working, cause harms in the United States, across the world. And so you know, wherever you guys land on this, you know, you land. But I think for me, the greater piece is like, how are we supporting community members who do purchase these things? How are we supporting people in understanding the effects, the harmful effects of them? Like, where's our education and our outreach to people to help them make better decisions? And yeah, I'm going to keep coming back to services and supporting one another and showing care and compassion within this entire conversation. And yeah, thank you. Good luck.
Hello again.
Hello, I'm back. I used to be a Starbucks barista, so I have used these mythical containers everybody wants to know about, and they are pretty integral if you want to create very specific flavors of whipped cream, and if you also don't want your whipped cream to go very wrong after the first day you open it. Far be it from me to care about businesses more than people, and so I really want to speak to the language of this. I think if you reversed the language of it, you would save yourselves a whole lot of legal trouble. Because right now, the way it's written, it says it is unlawful for a person in the city to sell or distribute. Why does it not say a business? And why doesn't it say it should be illegal for a business to sell to a person? Because if you allow only food-related and medical-related businesses to sell to other businesses like that do those things, not head shops, not individuals, you will be cutting out so much difficulty. Cisco and US Foods, the people who bring the nitrous oxide to Starbucks, specifically, usually Cisco, they're not going to have any issues. They're selling to another business. If you have the local chef store that sells bulk nitrous oxide to the Starbucks, they're not going to have an issue. If you have an individual with no proof of any business who walks into those and says, hey, I'd like to buy a bunch of nitrous oxide, you know, I'm starting up my own little, like, they're like, sorry, buddy, you can't. You have to have a legitimate business, and maybe you even have to have a proof of customer, like you have to have this many customers. We want to see your, like, I don't know how you could do that, but that to me seems like a much more dialed in approach to the excess of nitrous oxide, not pointing at like fingers at people on the street being like, do you have some? Do you have some? Like, I know you're saying it's not about possession, but if you have an individual selling it on the street to another individual, small timer, that's not really what we want to be going after. We want to be going after the community health crisis. And so in order to do that, if you want to curtail the head shops, which is what the police officer said are mostly the issue here, you could say you have to be a food or medical related business selling to another business in our city. That makes sense to me. I think it makes sense to everybody else. I don't know. It would be a substantive change, but I think it would mend a lot of what's wrong with the language here and a lot of what the enforcement would look like. So, just an idea.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Deborah Dukes, and I live 2 blocks from Eureka High, and I have a very attractive alley, attractive in terms of 2 teenagers who are who are before school, on break, at lunch, cutting classes, whatever. And when I go out walking, I carry my little bag and I pick up trash, and I am sick to death of picking up those canisters because I know every time I see one, it's a kid because of the population of my alley. It's a kid who's doing damage to their brain. The traffic accident, the vehicular manslaughter, whatever it wasn't an accident, where the man was killed, was horrific. And what we're doing to our young people by making these canisters accessible at all is horrible. That said, my son is a professional chef and he uses nitrous oxide in his work. Fortunately, he's in the Bay Area, so this doesn't apply to him directly, whatever you do here. But I would ask you to please think about our kids and think about little old ladies going around picking up canisters instead of just enjoying the nice walk. So it may be that you have to table it for tonight, wait for another time, I don't know. But whenever you do make the decision, please think about the kids.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wants to share on this item? Speak on this item? Seeing none, do you see anybody on Zoom?
Jay?
Good evening, everyone. I'm actually here to speak on the tobacco policy, but this is on the agenda.
Yeah, you can speak on this item at this time, and you can speak on the tobacco ordinance at that time.
Right. So I do support the nitrous policy. I think it's important to have consistent policy throughout the county, as already has been mentioned. And that consistency makes a level playing field for all merchants, however you end up crafting the specific language. It improves public understanding and compliance and makes it easy to have consistent enforcement throughout the county. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you see anyone else?
Phone number ending in 791. Looks like they have left. They may have hung up.
Okay, so do you see anyone else?
I see no one else.
Okay, so seeing no one, we'll bring it back to council for a motion in a second and then discussion. Sure. Councilmember Castellano?
Yeah, well, I do think in hearing the public and fellow council members, it would make sense to, include some small carve out for restaurant use. That being said, I think that we could go ahead and move it forward tonight and then bring back for the second reading. That way we can keep it moving.
So I think and Bob, excuse me, City Attorney Black, can correct me if I'm wrong. If we go and we adopt it as is right now, and then you wanted to add an exemption to it, if we were to do that at the next meeting, that would consider to be substantive, and we'd have to reintroduce it. I think what City Attorney Black was getting at is we could introduce it now, adopt it at the next meeting, and then do an amendment to that. Correct, Attorney Black? Isn't that your viewpoint?
Yes, that is one clean approach. If Councilmember Castellano had in mind a fairly clear notion of what is the amendment she wished to make, I think that she could move the ordinance before you and outline her amendment as part of the motion, and then that would simply be a matter of reducing it to language, and that would constitute a full introduction tonight.
Okay, so if I was to say something to recommend would be this with an amendment that provides a carve out for commercial vendors that distribute this to restaurants and then bring it back. Would that work, City Attorney Black?
Yes, I believe it would.
And before we move forward, our public comment has made it back on. Okay. Phone number ending in 791. Are you there?
Yes, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul. I'm a part of the local convenience store business here in Eureka, and I also work with a bunch of the other retailers. We're totally with you guys on this. I think this weeds out bad actors in the industry that may be selling these items that you guys wanting to get off the streets. So we concur with you guys. I think this is a great first step. The need for the exemption for the businesses that do need this item in their place of business, whether it's a restaurant or a coffee shop. I think you guys are on the right track to figure that out. I appreciate, again, letting me come back on here since I was having a little bit of a connection issue. But as a local family that lives in the area and does business in the area, I think this is a good step. We want to sell general convenience items. This stuff has come into the industry and created a bad image for everybody. So if there's any input needed from us going forward on this, if this doesn't pass tonight, please do feel free to reach out to anybody. I'm willing to offer my time and my contact information at the end of the meeting if wanted, but we would like to, weed out these items and anything else that frankly has given the industry quite a bad image. So that's all I have to say on this topic. And again, thank you so much for letting me come back and speak. Appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Councilmember Castellano, carry on.
Okay. I move to waive full reading and read by title only and introduce bill number 1050CS, adding section 130.15 to title 13, chapter 130, making it unlawful for any person in the city, with exceptions, including businesses selling to restaurants and coffee shops, to sell or attempt to sell, offer, distribute, or provide nitrous oxide to any person.
Second.
So we have an emotion. We have an emotion. We have a motion and a second. We're having an emotion as well. Councilmember Fernandez first, and then Moulton.
I just wanted to get clarity on the city manager's understanding of the exception that was added, or to look into.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
What we'll likely do, just so council knows, is reach out to the chamber and coffee shops around town. I believe that the public commenter is correct. I think Cisco is the main provider for this, and I think that would be a good exemption because it is not like Cisco is going to come to my residential door and deliver me something.
Councilmember Moulton.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment that in section D, instead of $1,000 fine, we add the words up to. So it is up to a $1,000 fine or a term in the city jail, or sorry, county jail.
Is that something the motion maker would be willing to consider? Councilmember
I don't think $1,000 is very much to find someone who's selling this illegal substance personally.
So I am curious, to add what the appropriate amount of jail time would be then, because that's left undefined.
So that, once again, would be up to our prosecutorial authority, and when we filed the case with the court, it would be up to our city attorney's office to determine that, and City Attorney Black could chime in.
Yes, so the maximum jail time on a misdemeanor is 1 year in county jail, no state prison time. The maximum fine is $1,000, but on both of those items, initially your city prosecutor, who is also your city attorney, has authority to ask for those maximum amounts or anything lower. The court, regardless of what the city prosecutor asks for, retains discretion to allocate the punishment according to the judge's own sense of what is an appropriate punishment. Possibly, and I'm not as sure about this, but possibly with the advice of the probation department. And I'm not saying that the amendment suggesting up to 1,000 is not something that you can do. I am suggesting that it's redundant of the current court and prosecutor's powers.
Thank you. Councilmember Moulton.
Some understanding, any person violating this chapter is guilty of a misdemeanor and upon conviction thereof may be punished by a term in the county jail or by a fine of $1,000 or both. Term is not defined in length of time, but it says $1,000. Are you saying that that is automatically assumed to be up to $1,000 and it's up to the
Yes.
prosecutor?
Well, it's both up to the prosecutor, who is your city attorney, but then the independent judgment of the judicial officer that's presiding on that case is above and beyond what the prosecutor might recommend.
So they wouldn't look at this and see this as a minimum fine because it's how it sounds.
No, it's not. It's definitely not a minimum fine.
It's a maximum.
Yeah. It's a maximum fine.
Okay, we'll let the lawyers read the law.
Okay. If there's nothing, Councilmember Contreras-Deloach.
No, I was actually just I was just going to say thank you. I appreciate the extensive discussion up here with everybody chiming in and filling in information. It was clear that Councilmember Moulton had spoken with some businesses to get background on some of this and how it worked. And I really appreciate it. I also really appreciate public comment. It's so good when the community actually engages, brings their unique experiences and knowledge on things, because that's really beneficial. So, that was it. I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that participated so that we can try to move forward and make good policy that balances, safety with, the success of people around us and businesses.
I see no further comments. Please vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. And I want to make a comment on this. I think that this is really going to be something that's beneficial to some of our parents out there whose children are addicted to whippets, and to the people that have lost their children, fathers, friends to nitrous through ODing. And I'm sure as you wander around our community, you're going to find a lot of them. So thank you. And with that, we are going to take just a few minutes for a short break, and then we're going to move on to tobacco. Thanks for your patience. Oh, look at that. I didn't have my microphone on. So we're back. And we are going to start with bill number, and first of all, thank you for your patience, you and the audience that have been waiting with so much grace. We're going to start with bill number 1051 CS, Tobacco Retailer Licensing Ordinance, with City Manager Slattery.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening again, Mayor and Council. This is another ordinance that we're recommending introduction of. It is a tobacco retailer licensing ordinance. I will give you the background on it, and then there are some amendments that were made to the ordinance based on some communications we received from tobacco retailers, and I'll go over those. They were put into your packet, the updated version, and it's highlighted in red, but I will go through that. So this is something that was brought to you guys. I don't even know if it was the same council. It may have been the previous council. Folks from Crescent City and Del Norte came down here to express their concerns about tobacco retailers that were kind of promoting to children with the sale of flavored tobacco and those types of things. The intent of this is to reduce minors' access to tobacco, encourage compliance with enforcement tools that we can use here locally, and to enhance enforcement by our code enforcement staff, and then also to meet public health goals. The other one that came up as a part of this is that this ordinance will connect to the nitrous ordinance. And if we do find somebody in violation of the nitrous ordinance, that can trigger this ordinance to allow us to remove their license and no longer have them do business or suspend their license. So the changes that were made, we received a couple of concerns from local businesses. One was a local business that was within the 600 feet of another school that is not allowable. And the other concern was from a local business about the transfer of their property and losing value in their property in the transfer without having the license. So we addressed that, and I'll go over that. The other issue is, not issue, but the other change is this ordinance here is written into the ordinance that it will take effect January 1st. That will give us time to come back to council with a permit fee for this, as well as allow for us to incorporate this into our open gov process. Like I said, there's about 30 or so of these in our community. The intent from the city's perspective would be this would be housed within the code enforcement, because they would be the ones responsible for putting this together, and so it would be a part of our planning and code enforcement in order to implement this. So with that and the time that it takes, we were saying that this would be implemented on January 1st. And then from that date, there would be 90 days for all of the businesses to get into compliance with the ordinance. So the changes on the ordinance start on the second page. On section 2, we added the statement that the ordinance will take effect on January 1st, 2026. And then we made some amendments. There was some oversight on it. We had some sections in here related to pricing and other things, and so there's a couple of definitions that have been removed. The coupon definition has been removed, and the full retail price definition has been removed, and that's on the third page. And then on page 6, section 123-5, letter B was removed, where it states no existing tobacco retailer license may be renewed by a pharmacy. And then under section 123-5, letter D, we added a letter D, and it says, notwithstanding the provisions of subdivision B above, an existing and otherwise illegally operating tobacco retailer may continue operating as a non-conforming use within 600 feet of a school, provided that within 90 days of the effective days of this ordinance, the retailer must apply for and diligently pursue approval of a tobacco retailer license under this ordinance. Upon obtaining a tobacco retailer license, the use will be treated in the same manner as a non-conforming use under subdivision 155.424.060 of the Eureka zoning code, which is our non-conformance section for that. And then the final change to address the issues with the sale of the business under section 123-8. We added a letter D, and it says, in respect to a prospective buyer or transferee of an existing tobacco retail location or any person seeking a tobacco retail license for a new location, the prospective new proprietor may apply for a tobacco retail license on a conditional basis, whereby the license will become effective when the new owner takes possession of the existing business or when the new location is secured for a tobacco retail business. So those were the changes that were made since the agenda was sent out and posted. So with that, if council has any questions, I'm available, and so is Attorney Black to answer them.
Councilmember Moulton?
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who put work into this ordinance. It's very thorough, of course. I had a question about the fees involved, just to put it out there. This is one of those things where the fee can only pay for what it's doing. Am I correct?
100%. And we've done some preliminary look into that. Right now, when you look at there's fees for cannabis licenses, but it's kind of broken down into just like the administrative permit part of it, the cost for inspections, those type of things. For this, there isn't that big of a burden, and so typically I think it's 500 for the administrative fee. We're probably looking in the 250 zone, but we'll have to come back to you between now and January 1st with an update to the fee schedule once we determine the actual costs for our code enforcement in order to process this.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Bauer?
I think we at one point, I think there's been concern about just how many of these businesses we have. Is there any ability to limit that? Or I feel like I've asked this question.
Attorney Black has done some research on it, and then he can comment on that. I do know that this item was up for amendment at the County Board of Supervisors today, and my understanding is that staff was directed to add some radius provisions to it so that if there is a tobacco in one location, that there can't be another one open up within a certain distance of that. That's a way to do it. To be honest, I think that the nitrous ordinance may serve as a deterrent for some of these tobacco shops to open up. But there's other options if Attorney Black would like to discuss limiting or putting a cap.
Well, yeah, I'd be happy to, and I think there's a serious distinction between conceptually trying to eliminate some of the existing businesses so that we're kind of weeding it out and having a lesser number versus applying restrictions to prospective new businesses. I think the latter is more easily justifiable under the law because by attempting to force people to either move or go out of business that are already here, I think we face some high challenges of justification. But I think that's where we are. If in your shoes, if you wanted to do something that I think is more clearly legal, you could impose conditions on the locating and situating of brand new businesses.
Yeah, thank you. And then as far as regulating these businesses, ABC kind of the lead on that, or do we have any involvement?
Well, this will give us involvement. That's the intent of it. So obviously ABC, we've talked about inspections that have been done on smoke shops, and that's typically with the state coming in here, and then we provide support to that, and that's happened here locally. But this would give us the authority to do so, and so it would fall under code enforcement, and code enforcement would be responsible for that. Like I said, there's about 30 of them currently, and they would be the ones responsible with implementing the permitting and the administration of it.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councilmember Fernandez, I'm sorry, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Looking at section 123-5, we removed the original item B, no existing tobacco retailer license may be renewed by a pharmacy. Why was that changed? Why couldn't we just move forward with pharmacies not being able to sell tobacco-related products or tobacco products?
Because there are no existing tobacco retailer licenses.
Could you start over, Bob?
Saying you can't get a new one, and it doesn't make sense to say you can't renew an existing one because there are no existing ones.
So, Bob, could you please repeat, City Attorney Black, could you repeat that because you kind of were underwater for a few minutes there. We couldn't understand what you were saying.
Yeah, I know. There's some sound problems coming this direction as well, but that was removed because we are in number 1 there, prohibiting the issuance of a tobacco retailer license to any pharmacy.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
And there's no
So get your head around that.
Yeah.
And then the second one said you can't renew an existing pharmacy tobacco retail license, but there are no existing pharmacy tobacco retail licenses, and under number 1 there won't be any in the future.
Okay.
So number 2 made no sense.
Okay, no, that helps. That helps understand. So thank you with that. And then let's see. Under 123-12, looking at C, again, this, I know we've had this discussion in the past with previous ordinances, but again, the last option for appeal goes to the city manager rather than the city council. How did we come to that determination again?
I think there's a desire to protect the council from having these, and of course, it's ultimately up to you for sure. But there's a desire to not use the council's limited time and availability to do these quasi-judicial proceedings. And in honesty, it's going to be a deeper recommendation of my office that most of these quasi-judicial proceedings be diverted not even to the city manager or the city council or the chief of police, which is where a lot of them go, but to an impartial administrative hearing officer that is from outside the city and that we would appoint, and maybe have a battery of 2 or 3 of those that were available to handle administrative decisions. But that's a larger topic and a deeper conversation. But I am developing in my office a proposed discussion of that will be brought to you.
Yeah, and
not in the immediate future, but not too far off either.
And I would say in the past when we have done this, it's more of a timing thing. There's an ability for somebody to get through that appeal process much more quickly and efficiently. If you want, I can designate you as a... No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But I think what City Attorney Black is getting
Fernandez.
at, we're moving in that we're moving in that direction with our hearings for dogs, having an outside entity be the hearing.
No, I like that, and I like to know that that's going to come before future council. So again, more curiosity than any sort of perspective change at this point. But that's all I have at the moment.
Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll open this item up to public comment. If you want to comment on this item, please come forward. Hello.
Hello, good evening. My name's Amber Weir. I'm project director for NorCal for Health and a coalition member of our local tobacco education network through public health. And I was just here today to support or actually just say thank you for bringing this up. I found out about it just a couple days ago, and so I don't have a lot of information to present to you about some of the things, but you referenced Del Norte Crescent City, and I think that might have been me a couple years ago. Yeah, I had come up here. Yes, Jay McCubry, to just share with you that we had, in Del Norte County is where I live, but our program we serve Del Norte and Humboldt counties now, so we work in both counties and communities. And yeah, they had passed a TRL that I think has a few more policies in place in that one, like the capping of tobacco retailers. They're trying to get it back down to the state average of 2 retailers per 2,500. So everybody got grandfathered in, but no new ones coming in. And as they go out, they may not be able to have a new one after that until they get to that 2.5. Not that I want to stall you guys on any of this. What you're doing is great. I just wanted to share what the other communities are doing. And that also to plant a seed is that we have what's called a Born to Breathe Youth Media festival that takes place every year, and we already are recruiting for youth, and we'll probably be letting you all know because we would love you to attend to hear the youth's voice on what is happening, because our youth are still at those epidemic rates of using tobacco in Eureka. The California Healthy Kids Survey does show, that there's much higher use rates than the state average. So it is something, a community health issue with our youth. And I just thank you for addressing it and putting it on the agenda, and unbeknownst to any of us that talked about it years ago. So thank you very much for bringing it. And if you have any questions or want any more resources, we're available. I can reach out. I have my business card, I guess I could leave for you guys. And of course, Public Health and Jay McCubry is also available for any information on how to move forward on these kind of topics. But I'll be letting you guys all know about Born to Breathe here soon, and hopefully you'll meet our youth that have direct stories to tell about their exposure and use. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers who'd like to comment on this item? Seeing no one, do you have anybody on Zoom?
Jay?
All right. Hey, good evening. I'll try to go fast. As Amber mentioned, there's a couple of ways to reduce the density of retailers in Eureka. Currently, these figures are a couple years old, but currently the density of retailers in Eureka is about 3.25 retailers per 2,500 residents. For example, ABC recommends 2 retailers for 2,500 residents, and with tobacco, that's the statewide average. So that's your goalpost to reduce it to 2%. A way to do that is to prohibit new tobacco retailers near schools, prohibit new tobacco retailers near other retailers. It creates that inequitable distribution of ill health in our community. So let me just move on to my prepared comments here, because I thank you for the work you do and I support this policy. About 2 years ago, I helped conduct undercover youth decoy purchase surveys at 30 stores in Eureka. And just on my perspective, I think there's a few more of them now. According to the Healthy Kids Survey at that time, 70% of high school students in Eureka felt that it was easy to obtain tobacco. And early that Monday morning, nearly 17% of stores sold tobacco to our underage youth decoys. More than half the stores still offered flavored tobacco products that appeal to young people, even though flavored tobacco had been made illegal by state law at the beginning of 2023. There are drug and tobacco prevention programs in our schools, and free quit smoking programs available to students and adults. Tobacco retail licensing is another important component to prevent nicotine addiction in the first place. By joining unincorporated Humboldt County and Del Norte County, for that matter, with a strong tobacco retail license policy, you create a level playing field for all merchants and improve public understanding and compliance, all with the aim of preventing addiction to dangerous and addictive nicotine products. So thank you. And as Amber mentioned, I'm local and nearby and available to answer any questions or help.
Thank you.
Phone number ending in 791.
Hello, everyone. Again, good evening. I'm, again, local business owner and family member who lives in the area. We, again, applaud you guys for bringing this forward. A lot of these have come in many jurisdictions because of all negative things that are going on in the business community that we are a part of. We also want to weed out the bad actors. So what we're asking as a group that does business in your town, that's a taxpayer in your town, that the attrition to bring down the store counts not be done through just naturally if somebody wants to sell and then they fall under. I'm talking about existing businesses here, not new or anything else. these are our livelihood. We put a lot of equity into these businesses. That enforcement be a key part of this, where bad actors are weeded out. We understand there needs to be lower amount of stores, but let's also not forget this very jurisdiction allowed and approved these businesses to be here. I'm not blaming anybody, not critiquing the process, but that is the reality. So we're asking for enforcement to be a big part of this as we all follow the current rules and regulations. We understand the products. If there's any questions as this goes forward, if it does not pass tonight, but regardless, enforcement should be a big part of this. Otherwise, all it is the attrition and the decrease in stores will come from families like myself who will, in the end, not be able to sell their business because we have no tobacco license. While we're not here to champion the cause of tobacco or promote smoking, it still is a large part of the convenience store business. So just please do keep in mind that enforcement is, necessary, and the more natural way to weed out any of the people that are causing problems in the community by being a business owner and not following rules and regulations. Again, thank you for your time. That's all we asked for. The county did have a meeting today. A lot of us were there. They're looking at various different ways to combat the transferring, if you want to call it that, but not necessarily transferring how, if a business is sold, how the new person and make an investment in Humboldt County and the town of Eureka to continue doing business and continue serving the tax base for the jurisdiction. So it's not just a distance thing. It's not just this. If a business has been there for 60 years and they're part of the community and they're following the rules, there should be some way that they're allowed to continue doing their business. Again, we're not here to champion tobacco. We're not the Marlboro Man. We just want to continue doing business in the communities that we live in and serve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do you see anyone else?
I see no one else on Zoom.
Seeing no one else, we'll bring it back to council for a motion for discussion. Councilmember Bauer.
Yeah, I just going off of Attorney Black's recommendation, I could see page 6 under, what is that, B? What section is that? 123.5B, no new tobacco retailer license may be issued within 600 feet of any school or within a quarter mile of an existing tobacco retailer. I'm just guessing. I mean, but in order to kind of constrain what we're all talking about, I don't even know if that does it. I mean, maybe it's a half a mile. That's for new businesses. Not saying we're removing anybody. We're not doing that. We can't do that. But in the future, how do we limit that? And that seems like a prudent. I don't know if that distance is enough, but just throwing it out there.
And were you adding that to your motion?
Yeah, I guess so. But I'd like to have discussion about that.
So, but you need to make the motion for us.
Okay, well, let's do that. I'll make a motion to waive full reading, read by title only, and introduce bill number 1051 CS, adding chapter 123, sections 123.1 through 123-14 to title 11 of the Eureka Municipal Code, tobacco retailer licensing, regulating tobacco product sales, and requiring the licensing of tobacco retailers.
Is there a second? Did you want to add that other part too?
Yeah, with the addition, and that's, I'll throw it out there, and with the addition of subsection 123.5B, no tobacco retailer license may be issued or authorized to sell tobacco products within 600 feet of any school or within a quarter mile of any existing tobacco retailer at SEC.
Councilmember Fernandez.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
And I'll add, I thoroughly approve of that amendment to it. The only thing that I would like to add, if you're open to it, would then be in line with what would be our cannabis ordinance, saying that it wouldn't be within, let's see, we put 600 feet here, within 600 feet of a community center. I have to go back and look at the ordinance, but I think it's something along those lines. City manager, would you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, I would. Community centers, I think is a good. We may need to add a definition of that, but I would consider city members be, Jefferson, Adorney, those type of things.
Yeah, I accept that.
Okay.
Great. Councilmember Moulton.
Would we then need to amend section 123-5, letter D, that basically grandfathers in those within 600 feet of a school to now add those within, what did you say, a half mile? Did you say quarter mile?
No, because it says new business.
Yeah, it's new business.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Castellano.
I do believe we would want to add school or community center then to that section D.
I'll accept that amendment.
Great. You too? Yeah, fine. Okay. All right. Anything further? Please vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. This moves us to future agenda items. Councilmember Moulton. Councilmember Moulton, then Contreras Deloge. We have a list.
Thank you. I just have one. On a future agenda, I would like to update our sign ordinance. It's been brought to my attention that I was in the original or the last updating of this, and there's clearly a spirit of the law about dark skies and about reducing traffic distractions. And there are new technologies that have been brought to my attention which fall well within the spirit of the law but are technically outside the letter of the law. Technologies that reduce energy use and make workers safer. And I'd like to take a look at those things and possibly change the way that the law, rather than prohibiting specific technologies, prohibiting specific illuminations and behaviors, if that makes sense. Okay.
So we have all thumbs up? Okay, so we've got consensus on that. Councilmember Contreras Deloge?
Yeah, so this actually was born of a recent conversation I had with Assemblyman Rogers and Colin Fisk when we were talking about different safe streets policies. So there's something called the Emergency Streets Protocol. It was something that was created out of University of Colorado. It's being implemented all across the U.S. There's other places in California that already have. And the idea of it is basically proactive safety, so that if there's an accident, what you do is there's an immediate response. Instead of just going, somebody got in an accident on the corner of this. That response is they put up, immediate signage. It's, coned off. They slow down the thing and they take a look at it. Is this because of the way the street is, or is there, inadequate signage? Does there need to be a crosswalk? Is there, poor visibility? Does somebody have a gigantic hedge? Whatever. But they take a look at that and they do that right away. So it's kind of more of like how do we prevent another problem happening going forward? It's not something we have to create out of whole cloth if we want to look at it. They have a 24-page document that explains it and how to kind of like implement this as cities. And so I'm curious if you guys would be interested in doing something like that to increase pedestrian and bicycle safety. Cool. Thank you.
I think we have consensus. Councilmember Fernandez.
Thank you. I know in the past we've done proclamations for the month of Pride. I'm not sure if we've done one for the Trans Day of Remembrance, which is this year on November 20th. So I don't know if we've done that in the past, but I would like us to. I see a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
I don't think you need to ask.
Around. Thumbs up. Okay.
And I had one more. Okay. And then I know I've had at least a budding conversation about AI use policy for city business, and I'd at least like us to have staff look further into our use and how it works into the day-to-day. Remembering, I think, as a comment was made earlier, that about privacy, and then, of course, our own data is often the product of a lot of these technological companies. So how is it that we use it and move forward with it?
So you're asking for a report?
Yeah.
Okay, consensus.
Thank
you. Yes. Councilmember Castellano.
Sure, thank you. I've mentioned just even earlier tonight that I'm part of this Live Humboldt working group. And as part of that, Live Humboldt has a dashboard of kind of pertinent health data, and that's based on the community health assessment and the community health improvement plan. And they're getting ready in 2026 to do the next round. But Marion Strong, who works for public health, is interested in giving a presentation on the dashboard, and there's a lot of, I think, resources that folks would find useful.
We could even set that up in mayor's reports, if you'd like.
Yeah, whenever.
We can talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was consensus. I saw it. Lots of consensus. Moving on to city manager reports.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight I have a presentation on economic mobility. If Assistant City Manager Powell could drum up the presentation, it should be minimized. Oh, you want me to come over there? Okay, hold on. Oh, I forgot Oz is on it. Thank you, Oz. So anyway, this came out of the League of Cities that the majority of us were at this past week. When I first went to the presentation, I was under the assumption that this was related to a municipality in general. Come to find out that it's not. Economic stability. Typically, when we think of economic development, we think of the gross domestic product. As I learned through a lot of the presentations at League of Cities, the city of Eureka's really far ahead in a lot of these areas. A lot of the definitions for economic development don't include the well-being of our community members and where people can lead long, healthy, and fulfilling lives. So it's just beyond growth of the economy. It's about the community member themselves. And so economic mobility as a definition is how a person's economic well-being changes over their lifetime. As their income increases, they are considered upwardly mobile. So this presentation was put on by a representative from the Nationwide League of California Cities. They kind of classify your community members into 4 areas, but once you get into these 3 areas, you're considered economic stability, where your basic needs are met, economic security, where you have a stable, full-time living wage, are paying, appropriate rent, and are, available to financial services. And then once you get past that, you get into wealth building, and you have opportunities to advance in your career. Why I found this really interesting is because we here locally, we recognize the importance of our social services programming, and when we did that, we actually put CAPE into our economic development division because we recognize the importance of that from an economic development standpoint. And this kind of provides a new way to look at what we're already doing. I think it'll help in getting our word out and using this term and avoid the stigma of kind of social services and looking at it as more of an economic mobility factor than it is social services for our disadvantaged community members. And so the league has a data dashboard. And when we look back at economic stability, you're looking at that's what we're trying to get our community members into, all of our community members. So whether it's through Pathway to Payday, whether it's through the Job Skills Training Program, whether it's through the Housing Assistant Programs, our Housing Support Specialists, we're trying to get all of our community members to be economically stable. And so I see this being a good fit with not only them, and then when you get up to the wealth building part, I'm going to go through some metrics so you can determine how you compare to other people and how well you're doing in this economic mobility. And so the National League of Cities has a upward mobility data dashboard. You can look at your communities, you can look at regional trends, and you can explore different distributions across the nation. What we plan on doing is kind of rethinking what we're doing and looking at it so that we can look at these metrics to see how well we're performing and how we're looking as a community compared to other communities. And so when we look at understanding where people are at, basically you look at, to what extent people in our community have debt in collections. Do some groups or people in the community encounter greater barriers to achieving that upward mobility? So we'll look at that. And then for contextualizing, for our community, we look at our community's experience compared to other similar communities and the experience compared to communities across the country. And then we want to look at the data and where we're at and look at where is our community doing well and where can we do better. And then as we go forward, look at our community's efforts to boost upward mobility and trying to make it result in meaningful progress. So this is similar to what we're doing. I think that when we get to the economic growth part and determining ways of monitoring that and seeing how we're doing is something we'll need to implement. But the plan is to have our CAPE program and the programs that we do look at their work from this perspective and using that as a way to get it out to our community and have something that we can compare to other communities and see how well we're doing. So if there's any questions on that, I'm available to answer them.
Any questions? Not at this time. Comment. Councilmember Moulton.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that that came from the League of California Cities. Love a data-driven approach, and I like the idea of reframing it in that way. That sounds very both productive and empowering. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Contreras-Deloach.
Just going to echo what I had said to you in a private conversation, that sometimes these having these definitions and having things kind of clearly sketched out, I think is really beneficial sometimes. And thanks for going to do it. Thanks for bringing it back. And I think that will be really beneficial. Thanks.
Great. Well, if there are no further comments at 8:34 this evening, thank you all for hanging in there. We appreciate you being here. This meeting is adjourned.